This question comes from Jongji from Korea, and it's typical of everybody. This whole thing about speed, how do you generate speed? You start to try to analyze it more than you need to. So he says, when I stand and I throw a ball at the ball, and I throw it easy, he says, I seem to be able to do it fairly well. And he says the same thing with the club. When I go L to L and I just hit it really easy, I'm able to really do it well. But when I try to add speed, how do you add speed? Well, first, without getting too analytical, so if I'm standing here and I throw a ball and I go like this, right onto that tee. Now, if you said, okay, I want you to do the same thing, but I want you to throw the ball a little harder. See, I wouldn't have to necessarily process or think, okay, so what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to throw it a little harder. So I'm going to take it back a little more. I'm moving a little more force, but it's more of an instinct thing. So say, okay, throw it a little harder. Well, I'm going to make a little more swing and create a little more speed. So his question is, when he tries to create more speed with his swing, he gets more tense. Well, but that's because it's not an overall flow, and all of these things have to start to increase. Force starts to move a little more, there's a little more swing, you direct the weight of the club a little bit sooner. It's just more motion, but it's the same motion. So if I'm gonna just barely throw it, and I'm gonna just throw it down inside the ball, or I'm gonna throw it a little harder, little harder, little harder. Okay, so if I sit up to the ball, if I went, okay, I'm gonna hit it easy, I'm gonna hit it a little harder. See, I'm just making a little more swing. Say, okay, now I'm gonna hit it a little harder. Okay, so there's no more tension, a little more swing, everything increases a little bit. But you shouldn't have to think about, okay, I want it to go further, so what am I going to do? If I'm asking you to throw a ball, throw it a little further, throw it a little further, throw it a little further, until finally, all of a sudden, you reach your maximum potential to create speed and force. It's not that complicated. And if you start trying to break it down to it, so do I move my hips faster? Do I hold the angle more? Do I throw it harder with my hand? As soon as you go there, then you've taken motion and you've tried to break it down into positions again. Everybody seems to have this mindset. They cannot get away from positions. They can't get into flow and motion. Everybody wants a spot. So what's the one thing that's going to create this speed? It's not one thing. It's a combination of multiple things. Most of you already know how to create speed, to add more speed naturally. You don't have to think about it. As soon as you start thinking about it and put it into a spot where, okay, right here I go harder, then it falls apart because then it's not an overall motion, it's a position again. So when you're working on speed, just gradually increase the length of the swing and the speed that your arms are going and that your body's moving with it. It's pretty simple. When you get to a point where you can't control the speed anymore, it doesn't do you any good to create more speed because you're going to hit it crooked or mishit it. So that's where you want to go with this. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for regular updates and tips. Thanks for watching.